So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Medely SRNA and I'm back with another video. In today's video I will be discussing how to get a recommendation letter as a travel nurse. So if you're interested in me and my story and what I'll be talking about today, then please keep on watching. So first things first, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click the bell notification down below that way you're notified every time I upload. We're currently on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Once I do reach 1,000 subscribers, I will be going live and doing a live giveaway, so definitely stay tuned for that. I wanted to just go ahead and make a video regarding, how I, as a travel nurse, got a recommendation letter for SRNA school while being a travel nurse. So a little bit about my background. I have been an ICU, CVICU nurse for 5.5 years. 2 of those years I worked on a floor, and the last 3.5 years or so of my career I was a travel nurse. So I worked at this one hospital where, as you know, if you traveled before or if you're a travel nurse, you know how hard it is to either get notice, they typically don't give travel nurses the really tough assignments, tough patients or anything like that. So I knew I had to really put my best foot forward, be friendly and everything to be able to get a recommendation letter. The hospital I worked at the time, I wasn't quite sure that was the hospital I was going to actually stay at. I actually never at that time had ever extended at a hospital. So the particular hospital that I worked at, but I remember one particular day which I felt like was a turning point at the hospital I worked at. It was a CVICU, and I specifically remember that they hired a lot of travel nurses to recover their post-op hearts fresh out of surgery. They didn't have a lot of experienced staff, so they wanted to bring in travelers that were experienced in cardiac surgery. For me, a common practice was to always get to work early. I worked a day shift, so I always was at work at 6 o'clock in the morning on the dot. That's a personal preference of mine. I like to look at my patients. I like to see what assignment I'm getting. I like to go ahead and write down my drug, what meds I'll be given. I like to read the H&P, the last few days of the doctor's notes. I like to look at everything, orders, vital signs, because for me, I feel like I'm more prepared that way. When 7 o'clock starts and I'm getting report, I'm ready for report. I'm not there at 7 o'clock putting my stuff down, then I'm looking at my patient. I just feel like that's wasteful for the other person's time that's actually giving you report or you getting report. So I prefer to get to work early, and that's just kind of been my common practice. So this particular day I had 2 patients. I had one on the last end of the hallway and I had one around the corner that I couldn't really see. However, I had a monitor right there. However, I prefer to have my patients at least within eyes view. That way I can kind of just see what's going on. I remember I got to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had walked all the way to the end of the hallway, and there was a bunch of people in there, and I was like, what in the world is going on in this room? And then you know how you have a nurse, or of nurses that you're either going to do a lot of work, or I know I don't have anything to worry about because they took care of their patients. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I had that kind of nurse. So I looked up both patients, and I was looking up her, and I can't remember exactly what it was. Either I looked at the vital signs and they were shitty, but she was also a dialysis patient. So you know how dialysis patients can be borderline 70s, 8, their low blood pressure is normal for them. Well, her blood pressure was questionable. I wasn't on the clock yet, but I was I need to figure out what is going on. She had walked up to me while I was writing down a report, and she was like, hey, she's like, are you getting this patient? I was like, yeah, I'm getting this patient. She was like, I really need an IV on this patient. Are you good at IVs? And I was like, yeah, I'm good at IVs. So I went in to help her get an IV on this patient, or either get an IV or draw blood. And I was like, well, what's going on with this patient? I'm gonna get them. I kind of looked up a little bit, but kind of just give me the backstory. I can't remember the details about this patient, but that's really besides the point. The pressure was in the shitty, it was in the 70s or whatever. And I was like, well, what's going on with this patient? What are y'all doing? I was like, is this patient on any pressors or anything like that? And she was like, no, they just want to, I think she had said no, they want to leave it like that. I was like, they want to leave her pressure like this? They want to leave her pressure like this? She was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work for me. I was like, no. And at the time, so this is funny, at the time I had like locks. So I didn't have like a little rubber band or anything to put it up. So I was like, I need to put my hair up because I know this day is gonna be a day. So I was like, let me go ahead and put my hair up and get prepared because it's about to be some shit. I just know it. I was literally prepared for anything. And so I was like, I just have a bad feeling about something. Like, I just know something's gonna happen. We could not get an IV on this lady at all. This patient had nothing, obviously, like nothing running. And I was just like, I need a doctor. I need something. We need somebody here because this is not gonna be a good situation. Matter of fact, and mind you, this patient was not ventilated. This patient looked she looked terrible. Like almost guppy breathing. I was like, is she awake? And I kept calling her name and she was like mumbling. I was like, yo, like this patient is gonna code. This patient is going to code. So what did I do? I grabbed that code card. I pulled the code card in the room because I was like, I just have a bad feeling. I knew something was gonna go down. So I was like, okay, we'll see. And like, I kept saying like, we need somebody down here. We need a doctor. We need somebody down here. When no one comes in until later, I was like, okay, cool. So I'm in the room, in that room. I was like, and mind you, I had a whole nother patient I hadn't gotten a report on, and I turned to the nurse, I was like, I already looked the patient up, just give me like the pertinent details because I need to be in this room. I can see that patient later. Or whatever, because you're able to like side by side put the vital signs, you know, that way you can see what the vital signs are on the other patient's room. So that's exactly what I did while I was in that room. I remember this distinctly. It was me and the RT in the room. The patient's pressure was still like in the 40s. This woman had no pulse. I jumped on that bed so quick, started CPR, and a bunch of people rushed in. Of course, you know, it's a code, got her back, whatever. And so it's funny because the RT then later came to me and she was like, you know, I'm really surprised at your work ethic. She was like, none of these nurses, like she was staff, she was like, none of these nurses would have done exactly what you did. They would have like literally freaked out. And I was like, why the fuck freak out? Like, I don't believe in freaking out during a code or when you know something is gonna something bad is gonna happen, because that's not gonna do any good. So anyways, we got her back, whatever. But it was like that point on, like me proving like I knew what I was gonna, like I knew what to do. I mean, obviously it's basic ACLS, but like the staff noticing like, oh, she really knows what she's doing. She's not like an inexperienced traveler. Like I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew like everything. And that experience right there is where I gained my respect on the unit. And that's where they started giving me a lot of their harder patients. They started giving me devices, ECMO, any difficult patient, any tough surgery, I got those patients. I literally was a staff. I literally like was a staff nurse there. And because of that, that's why I ended up saying, I was like, you know, a lot of the staff likes me, you know, management really likes my work ethic. I became familiar with the doctors, like knew them by name, would always address them. I just really got to know the staff on the unit. Like I always spoke to them. I always was very nice, friendly, always asked questions. And that right there is where, you know, people started talking. I let my work ethic speak for itself, and people started talking about how, you know, good of a nurse I was. And that was the moment where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and extend and get my recommendation letter out of these people. And that's exactly what I did. I extended for another 6 months. I actually asked the director of the ICU team, their critical care, to write a recommendation letter for me. I actually asked 2 different doctors that were on the critical care team. One of them was the director and the other one was another critical care doctor, to write me a recommendation letter. And they said they would be happy to do it, be willing to do it. And they did, which I was forever grateful for. I do have to say, as a travel nurse, it's extremely hard to get noticed. It's extremely hard to, you know, be noticed for your work ethic or get the, you know, critical patients that you know that you can take care of. One thing about travel nursing that I would say that is key is not only experience, but definitely your skill set. You need to have this skill set to be able to stand on your own pretty much without any help, because I've worked in very tough travel assignments where the nurses would not speak to me at all, wouldn't even help me. I mean, I would get the shittiest assignment, and I literally would have to basically figure it out. I would have to maneuver that body to clean up a patient on my own, like literally back-breaking work and all of that. I know it's not like the safest thing for me, but it's pretty much what you have to do. And your skill set needs to be strong. Your skill set needs to be strong enough to where you can stand on your own 2 feet. Be friendly with the staff. I know it's really hard and difficult assignments, but put your best foot forward. Speak to the staff. I would even recommend working a day shift if you can. If you can't really see like a lot of doctors on your shift, speak to the staff. Get to know the doctor's name. You know, have them be able to respect you as, you know, a nurse. Like, all travel nursing aside, like as a nurse, you should know exactly what to do. You need to be respected for your work ethic, and that's something I definitely would highly stress. If you can, also like try to find an assignment that you absolutely love that you can extend at. That way, you know, that you can really get to know the staff, the management can really see you. And that is another reason why I would definitely recommend working a day shift, because management obviously is there throughout the day, so they will notice you. They will hear like, you know what, Esther's a really good nurse. And sometimes on night shift, you know, they fail to kind of pick up on who is a traveler on nights and things like that. But I would highly recommend either working a day shift, getting to know the staff, the doctors, and kind of letting your work ethic prove, you know, speak for yourself. I know sometimes floating can be difficult, or, you know, that flexibility. Be flexible, but to the extent. Don't let them always like float you left and right. You know, stand up for yourself. However, do it in a more tactful, respectable manner, and I think a lot of people will respect you for that. And those are really like the tips that I have based on my experience as far as getting people to write your recommendation letter. Again, it's not easy, and always try to keep in contact different people that you meet on your travel assignment. That's the beauty of traveling. You can always go somewhere else, meet new people, experience different things at different hospitals. So keep in contact with people from your past assignments, different management from your past assignments. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, of course, definitely comment down below. I will be willing to answer any questions for you, and thank you for tuning in. Sorry about my child here, but you know, gotta get these videos up and out, you feel me? But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video that I will be posting very soon, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.